Okay, so for this category of question, it's also under inequality because there's a range of valid x and y. But it involves a bit of trial and error for you to answer such a question. So, like for example here, okay, so they will usually give you the possible answers for x. So if you look at the number line for x, so it is between -7 to 5. So that means, right, if you are going to draw on the number line, it actually looks like this. So it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 is included because there's an equal sign. Correct, there's an equal sign at 5, so 5 is actually included. So these are the valid numbers for x. So when they give you an inequality like this, right, that means, right, it actually, if you need to display everything here. So in a way, x can be -7, -6, -5, -4. So these are all the possible integer. So you also need to write that out for y. So if you look at y, okay, y is from -5 to 4. That means all the integers from -5 to 4 is valid for y. So I'm going to write y here. So it can be -5. -5 is valid because there's the equal sign here. So if they don't put an equal sign, please don't include -5. So make sure you look at the numbers first. Okay, you will write out the valid numbers or else you will miss certain things. So make sure you write out the valid numbers. A lot of students don't write out. Okay, so in this question, I would like to find the biggest y minus x. So I want this to be as big as possible. So we're going to use some common sense. If you want the biggest difference, so this one has to be as big as possible. This one has to be as small as possible. So you got to choose the biggest y that you can have. So the biggest y that I can have will be a 4. The smallest x that I can have, okay, so it's y minus x. So this part is the x. The smallest x I can have is a -7. So you will be doing a 4 minus -7. And then the biggest possible will be 11. So you got to use some common sense. Okay, find the biggest difference. So this one involves some trial and error, and sometimes you might miss out certain numbers. So when you get an answer already, you got to ask yourself, can I get even bigger than this or not? So you got to choose the correct value. From y, you got to choose from x. Okay, where you will need to find the smallest possible, you need to think about as negative as possible. Because if you got a very negative number, it will be a very small number. So you need something square to minus. Okay, so I'm going to show you one trick. So if you are dealing with a squaring, right, I suggest you do an extra column. You do a x square. You go and square -7. Go and square -6. Go and square -5. So if you punch your calculator with a negative and a bracket, you find that after squaring, you are getting all the positive answers. If you square 0, you will get a 0. So if you square all the x, you are getting all the positive numbers. So this is x squared. Okay? And then try squaring the y. You square a -5, you will get 25, you will get 16. All the negative number after you square will be positive. So I hope you understand why negative times negative is positive. So you want as negative as possible. So you want it to be very, very negative. Okay, so how negative can you get? How negative can you get? You might want to spend, you can think about it. You look at all the possible numbers. How can you make it very negative? Okay, so you think about it. The correct one will be you choose a 0 and you choose a -5 from y squared, because I will get a -25. So you will need to use a 0. Okay, so there is a trick. So if you have x cubed, then go play around with x cubed. Okay, the last one, I want the biggest. So I want the biggest x squared and the biggest y squared. So biggest is very easy. You look at the x squared. The biggest is actually 7 squared. No, it's actually -7 squared. Because -7 squared gave a 49. For the y square, the biggest is 25. For the y square, the biggest is 25, and it comes from -5 squared. So this will be the biggest. So there's a lot of variety on this kind of trial and error. But the most important thing is your technique. You must be able to list out. Don't just look at the numbers. List out all the possible numbers. So if you are handling a squaring, then you can do a row of square. Okay, if you are doing like x cube, then you can try cube the numbers. Okay, so this is the one that you might make quite a bit of mistake, not because of careless. Sometimes you didn't realize that you can actually get smaller or you can actually get bigger.